The Week in Review with David Davis.
The numbers of votes cast for each candidate is as follows. Mordaunt, 105. Sunak, 137. Truss, 113. Therefore, Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss will be the candidates going forward to a final ballot of Conservative Party members.
Welcome to week 10 of the Week in Review. What you've just seen was Sir Graham Brady announcing the last two, the final two, as it were, of the contest for leadership. My candidate got knocked out at that stage, I'm sorry to say, but now we go on to the contest in the country. There will be hustings, meetings, speaker meetings in every part of the country in the next several weeks, and this is the opportunity for ordinary members to put their questions to the two remaining candidates, to Rishi and to Liz. I will have one vote, like the rest of you, in that, and I have some views as to questions they ought to be asked. They're very distinctive members in the sense that they have very distinctive policies. They're both part of the establishment, part of the old cabinet, but they've got very distinctive policies. Rishi essentially is maintaining his current high tax policy, and he will have to describe how he's going to deal with that. Liz has called for a very low tax policy. Before we get to that, there's a policy which is very close to my heart. The Prime Minister mentioned levelling up in his final Prime Minister's questions and focused on the whole question of equality of opportunity or inequality of opportunity.
It's not just inequality, it's inequality of opportunity, and that's what levelling up addresses.
I want to know what each candidate thinks about social mobility. Both of them went to good schools. The proof of that is they both went to Oxford. You can be as clever as you like. If your school's not good enough, you won't get into Oxford or Cambridge, that's for sure. So what will they do to ensure much higher levels of equality of opportunity than we have today? When I was at school, it was probably the highest social mobility period in this country's history. I was really lucky. I went to a grammar school, and that led me to go to a good university and so on. Today, that's not really true, and we need to make sure that we improve equality of opportunity up and down the country and across all of the classes of our citizens. So, beyond that, I have questions for each of the candidates, and I hope people will ask them in the hustings. To Rishi, I want to know, how are you going to bring inflation down? Our inflation is high. Now, some of it's outside our control, but some of it was caused by printing too much money at the end of the COVID crisis. That's why we have higher inflation, let's say, than Switzerland. Second question to Rishi is, the Treasury and the Office of Budget Responsibility underestimated the amount of money that would be raised in the last year by £77 billion. So what's wrong with cutting taxes by up to that amount? After all, you didn't know you were going to raise that much tax. Why not trim the taxes back to make up for that? To Liz has talked about creating some freedom by restructuring the debt that we have incurred as a result of COVID. 400 billion or so of debt. Mostly it's almost like on an overdraft, it's a floating rate. She wants to have war bonds, which is something I proposed, and I and others proposed about half a dozen times over the course of the last couple of years.
Does the Chancellor agree that the enormous deficits inevitably created in both Phase 1 and Phase 2 of his strategy need to be financed in a similar way to major incidents like wars, with very long-term bonds, not destructive short-term taxes?
Years. When I first proposed it, it would have cost maybe 1% interest rate on 50 years. Now it's going to be more than twice that, so it's not so effective. So she's going to have to find some other ways of giving herself the freedom to cut taxes. Now, I have been calling for tax cuts. Not the only one. I mean, John Redwood has, and others have been calling for tax cuts for a while. But what you're proposing is to deliver a very large number of tax cuts across the board all at once. You're going to have to explain how this is affordable while balancing the books and growing the economy, and how it can be done without creating quite a big shock to the economy in terms of extra spending being available. These are big questions, and they need to be answered quite soon, because the ballots go out on the 1st of August and people will start voting pretty soon after that. This is an incredibly important election. It's going to decide the Prime Minister for Great Britain in a month or so's time, and that Prime Minister will have to deal with circumstances which are very difficult. The economy with low growth and high inflation, not just this year but in the coming year as well. They will have to deal with the follow-on from the Ukraine war and the resurgent Russia, and possibly China behaving in a similarly aggressive manner in the Far East over Taiwan and the like. They'll have to deal with how we manage all the net zero requirements without making people's lives miserable by putting costs up too much. And there will be undoubtedly other major challenges. So this is a very important election, which is why I've confined this discussion, this review, to just the one subject. Next week and thereafter, we'll be returning to doing multiple subjects on different things: technology, politics, social affairs, you name it. But this week, this decision is the one that faces the nation. Thank you for watching. If you like what you're seeing, click share, click subscribe, click like. Thanks again.